name is Kelsey Stokstad. I live in Winona, Wisconsin. I was raised here in Madison, Wisconsin, so it's like right next door to Winona. But I have a daughter, Rhea. She just turned 2, and I'm married to my amazing husband, Sean. We met in college. My first symptoms started in May of 2023, and it was just a Sunday. My daughter was napping, my husband and I were cleaning, doing chores, and my left hand started tingling and going numb, kind of like when you fall asleep on your arm and it like feels weird and it's like completely numb. It was that sensation, but then it spread all the way up to my shoulder. So my whole arm was completely numb. I couldn't control it. I started panicking, thinking, because it was my left side, thinking it was heart related. So ran out to my husband. We called 911. EMT came. And by the time we got to the emergency room, I could feel my arm again. And, it had probably been only like 10, 15 minutes of me having that numbness and tingling sensation. We did blood work. We did the EKG test for my heart. Everything came back normal and fine, except I had low potassium. That was it. So we were offered a CT scan at the time, and we turned it down. I was at the time 30. I'm a young, healthy person. Didn't really think that was necessary. So continued to talk with my PCP, my primary care, and I had some postpartum anxiety after having my daughter. So they kind of attribute it to possible anxiety, which I know for women is a very common thing that we're misdiagnosed with oftentimes for various things. So pretty much I was prescribed a beta blocker. So whenever I would feel this sensation, I would take a beta blocker in hopes that it would help. That the sensation of the numbness happened probably like 4 times. And probably in the period of time of like 2 months, I would say. And the final time that it happened, basically I was at work by myself and I started noticing the sensation, but it felt more intense, or I don't know. I could feel like it felt different. And so I called my husband, and it started going down to my left leg. And that's when I really started freaking out. So he's like, okay, like lock the door. I'm coming to you. I helped my mom with her business. She has a retail shop. So I was by myself there, locked the door, and I like could feel myself really starting to like, I don't know, mentally, like I was like blacking out kind of. Like Sean's like, lay down. I'm coming to get you right now. And thank God I was on the floor, because I ended up having a grand mal seizure. So I blacked out. He was still on the phone with me, blacked out for like, I would say he said 5 minutes. And then when I came to, I was really confused and like remembered where I was, and like what had happened, but like was just out of it. And then called him on FaceTime, and I had like foam at the mouth, and he was like, okay, we got to go to the emergency room. That's not normal. And so we get to the emergency room. It was August 16th. So it was like literally just a year ago, recently. And that's when they were like, we got to do a CT scan for sure. And then they found the 4-centimeter brain tumor in my parietal lobe. My grandfather, he passed away like 15 years ago of a glioblastoma brain tumor. So when I heard brain tumor, that I instantly thought of my mom and was worried about her. Because we didn't know at the time what my diagnosis was. Like there's so many things it could be, but I just heard brain tumor and just instantly thought of her. I definitely was emotional, but I really was just, I think, like trying to process like why, like, how is this happening? Like trying to be strong and calm for my husband, and was really thinking about just like my husband and my family during that time, and had the thought like my life is forever changed. This is a day that I will never forget. Um, and basically, as soon as they found the tumor, they admitted me to, they had, there's a medical student that in neurology, and he did his neurosurgery. And they had him come in and just kind of explain, like, we're going to have you admitted in the hospital. You're going to have brain surgery as soon as possible. So, but you need to be at the hospital until then so we can monitor seizures and everything like that. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it was just like kind of like an out of body experience, because it was obviously the scariest news that I've ever received in my life. I was admitted to the hospital, and the my husband went to our house to get a backpack and everything. My daughter was with my parents, actually, because my mom was watching her because I was at work. So that worked out. But basically, I was by myself in the room, in the hospital room, and I got a call. Like, the phone rang in the room, and I was like kind of confused. I was like, wait, do I answer it? Like, I don't know. So I answered it, and it was my my surgeon, Dr. Ahmed. And he was like, hey, can I like come up, and I just want to talk to you, is that okay? And so he comes up, and he literally he sat down next to me in the hospital bed and just was like, I do 200 of these every single year. You're good. Like, I'm so confident in this surgery. You're going to be okay. I'm also a father. I have young kids. Like, I got you. And it was, I'm so happy I was by myself with him at that time, because it, like, I feel like it was able to give me some, I don't know, like I felt really empowered and really like, I got this, okay, like, this is brain surgery. My skull's going to get cracked open and I'm going to be operated on, but like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to do this. And he just made me feel so at ease and confident in him, which as a patient, I so appreciated. My surgery was 8 hours long, and was very successful. They did have to pause at one point. I was asleep, because I know there's some brain cancer, brain surgeries that people have to be awake for, depending on where the tumor is in their brain. But I was able to be asleep, thank goodness. But something happened where, like, they went too far a little bit, or they thought they did. So they had to like pause and stop and make sure, like, test my limbs and my arm and everything like that. So, but yeah, overall it was like pre-op and surgery, it was like 8 hours. And my surgeon removed 98% of my tumor. I am so grateful, and feel so fortunate. It was in a very accessible location. It was right on top of my brain. And so it just they basically said they opened up my skull, and there it was. The next few months were the hardest of my entire life, so far, hopefully the hardest. So recovery from surgery was easy. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And actually, now that I've been in the brain cancer world, talking to other people, apparently, and doing my own research, brain surgery is actually one of the easier surgeries to recover from, just because there's no nerve endings in your brain. It's really just like where they open up. That's where the scar is and everything. That's going to be painful. But, obviously I had intense headaches and was really tired. But I think I emotionally was in a really, I was just it was really hard. We were getting pedicures, and my Dr. Ahmed, or my surgeon, called me while we were getting pedicures, and I was like, "Can I call you back? I don't think I can hear this news in public." So when we got back to the car, we called him. That was also a really, really hard day, because that was when I got the news that I had brain cancer. Basically, I was diagnosed with an astrocytoma, grade 3, and that was all they knew at this time. I had sent my tumor into a lab to get molecular testing done so we could get more information about my tumor. I have an IDH1 mutation. So essentially what that means, it's like a specific enzyme in my tumor or in my cancer that makes it slow growing. So it's not aggressive, which literally just with that added like layer of diagnosis, it extended my like expected the life expectancy went from like 5 years to like 12 years to 15 years. Which was it was just like, oh, it was the best news ever. And my oncologist as well was very excited about this mutation because, like, coincidentally, that mutation is one of the most studied mutations in the brain cancer world. There's like IDH1 and IDH2, and there's already really recently, I don't remember the drug name specifically, I don't want to say it wrong, but there's a targeted therapy drug that was FDA approved literally like a month ago for my specific mutation, which and it's shown huge like progress and like really, really great things for people. My oncologists don't sugarcoat things. Rightfully so, so when your oncologist is using the words hopeful and like chronic illness, you're like, oh, okay, like that's actually a thing. Like when I heard I had brain cancer, I was thinking, okay, that's it. Like, brain cancer, like that's going to be how I go. But with this mutation and this new drug that has gone through clinical trials and is finally FDA approved, it could potentially make my cancer a chronic illness over like a terminal cancer, which is like the most incredible thing ever. It gets me like emotional, like thinking about it, but yeah, so that was great news. And I'm just so grateful for the mutation, because there's mutations that are not good too. So knowing that I have one of the good ones is just such a good feeling. My plan was radiation first. I did 33 rounds of radiation treatment. It was every weekday for 6 weeks. I lost my hair, or I had a really big old bald spot where my tumor was, and got to ring the bell after 33 rounds, which felt so good. After my radiation, my oncologist decided to then we're going to do chemotherapy. So I am still currently in the midst of finishing my chemotherapy rounds. I am prescribed Temodar. It's temozolomide is the official drug name. And it's a pill I take at home, which I didn't even know was a thing. I'm so grateful I don't have a port. I was worried I would have a port, and like that's a whole thing. And knowing that I could take it at home was so nice to hear. I also didn't lose my hair, which was really nice. But yeah, so I'm currently I started chemotherapy early December. So I started radiation, I think, end of October. around October time. And then I started chemotherapy in early December, once my kind of side effects from the radiation stopped. And then, yeah, I've just been chugging right along with chemo, and my body's been handling it pretty well. I get super, super fatigued, and the brain fog is unreal when I'm taking the pill. It subsides a little bit once I'm done taking it, because I take it 5 days on and then 23 days off, is like the minimum amount of time. Sometimes it's longer, so the cycle is 28 days. I take the pills at night, 5 days, and then I stop and then wait until my next round starts again, when I take the 5 pills, or pills 5 days in a row. So when I'm taking the pills, I definitely need like anti-nausea meds, nausea, loss of appetite, fatigue. Like my most recent round, I literally slept all night and then woke up. Like my husband had to wake me up at like 4 p.m. the next day. I thought it was like 11 or something a.m. And he was like, no, it's like 4 p.m. Like, are you good? Do you need anything? Yeah, it's just a lot on the body. My grandfather, who died of the glioblastoma, so he lived for almost 7 years with this cancer. I mean, he was given months to live. And his tumor was like 9 centimeters in his frontal lobe. And, but he somehow got into a clinical trial, even at his age. I don't know how it happened, but the clinical trial was for Temodar, which is the chemotherapy that I'm prescribed. It's so surreal. I know. It was because I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, I know Papo, we called him Papo, was in a clinical trial, and that's why he lived so long. And I was like, do you remember what it was called? And she figured it out somehow and was like, it is the one that you're taking. And I'm like, I'm someone who is like, I can be a little woo woo. I love, like, I don't know. I look for signs. I'm very open-minded. And so I just, like, I don't know. I don't think, obviously, him getting cancer, like, I don't like the saying it's meant to be anymore, because cancer just sucks and no one deserves cancer. But in a way, it gave his cancer some sort of purpose, and him having to go through that, because part of, like, the data that was from his experience, led to me needing it and led to me being prescribed it. So it's just wild. Right now, I was getting scans every 2 months, at first, and then now I'm at every 4 months. But then I'm really excited because my last oncology meeting was so amazing. It was so good, for many reasons that I can get into. But my oncologist said that after my next MRI, which will be like in the fall, I can wait. They could be every 6 months, because I've been clear scans so far, knock on wood. And my body's handling my treatments well. So they're just like, yeah, you're doing great. There's no sign of cancer right now. One of the big things that has helped me is I've actually been sharing my journey on TikTok. I'm someone who processes things by talking them through and out loud. And I'm very much a heart on my sleeve type of person. So I'm just like, exactly what I'm feeling pretty much at all times. I can't hide it. So, which I think was a blessing. During that time, it made me just flow through the emotions. I did some therapy at the beginning, which was very helpful. My husband and I were just very, like, open, and just he's my best friend. Like, we were close before this, obviously. And after this experience, I mean, like, I'm so grateful that it brought us even closer, because I know that not always the case in these situations. But, you know, we really lean on each other a lot, which I think was like, for a while, I mentally was more worried about him and my family than myself. Because I was like, in my head, yeah, I'm the one with cancer, but I personally think that they have it harder, because if I pass, I pass, you know, like, I'm not here, but then they have to live with that and like me not there. So like, even though I'm going through treatment and I have to go through all of this, and it's like death is scary to think about. Like, I would think like about the situation in my husband's view and just get so overwhelmed with emotion and be like, I can't imagine this being you. I would not be okay. Cancer, like I said before, it gives you perspective. It reminds you that life is fleeting, and we're all going to pass at some point. And so I think, while it's important to work through all of the emotions that you feel that are normal in a cancer diagnosis, I think it's also just as important to, think optimistically and have hope for what's to come, because the medical world is the cancer world too, like, especially, like, it's incredible what is being found and the information. And with AI now, things are happening so much faster. And I just think to never lose hope, because I know that it's easy to get into a dark place when you get a diagnosis like this. But just like, yeah, having hope and having faith and just like not giving up mentally, and it can go such a long way.